Welcome to our second series of Lessons from a Birth and Baby Business Owner. This is a show where we are speaking to those who are in or who have been in the birth and baby world to ask them the questions that you'd like to know the answer to on how they got to where they are in business today. Hello, my name's Anna LaGrange and I'm one half of Baba Business, the Birth and Baby Business Academy.
And my name's Liz Stanford, and I'm the other half of Baba Business, the community membership for birth and baby business owners. And today we have the pleasure of chatting to Hannah Love. So Hannah is sleep expert and parenting expert, #1 best-selling author also. Since qualifying as a paediatric nurse, maternity nurse, and nutritional therapist 25 years ago, she's been showing families that parenting doesn't need to be exhausting. Crikey, I'm sure that's relatable for so many people. More importantly, juggling work, life, and a baby can be a pleasure. You can be a gentle parent, have a baby who sleeps well and who fits into your lifestyle, whatever that means to you. Through her calm approach, consistent, achievable, loving, manageable, she helps parents in all areas of parenting, including her favourite subject, which is sleep. So can't wait to get into this, Hannah. So off the recording, we've already had quite an in-depth conversation with Hannah about her background, and let me tell you that she has led a very interesting life and career. So I'm really interested to see, to hear it all again. So we'd love to know, Hannah, where or why did you start your business, and what led to you being where you are today?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, first of all. It's lovely to be talking to you both. It started when I left school. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do at all. And it frightens me because my son's just at the same point now that I left school, from the same school. He goes to the same school as me. He's just completed his GCSEs. And I walked out from Ranelagh and I thought, I've got no idea what I wanted to do. But the one thing that I've always known is I love children. I love babies. If my mum lost me somewhere, she would always see where the nearest baby was when I was tiny, and I would be there with the baby. And that's how I've always been. And so I started nannying. I then decided to enroll at King's College London. I graduated with paediatric nursing in 2000. And then I got the opportunity of a lifetime when I went for a job interview, and a family who dad happened to be a professional golfer needed somebody because they were having a baby a week later, and I had a job lined up on rotation in the children's wards in the January. This was September, and they said, will you just cover the next 3 months? And I said yes, and I ended up staying with them. They said, what can we do to make you stay? So then I spent about the next 8 years basically working for professional golfers, traveling around the world, often first class in private jets, staying in amazing places. And it really was then that I formulated my gentle approach to sleep, because all of the babies that I was looking after needed to be sleeping well. It was in my best interest that they were sleeping well, because most of the time they were staying in the hotel room with me. I wasn't doing any kind of controlled crying or cry it out, because dad was in the next room with a very important £1 million round of golf the next day. So I wasn't going to be leaving them to cry, but I needed to support them to learn to sleep well. And so I formulated this gentle approach where I'm there with the baby, where you're supporting them all the time. My mum's an osteopath, and at the same time I was in and out of working in hospitals, but I'd been brought up very naturopathically, with my mum being an osteopath and naturopath. And there were so many things at the time, this is kind of early 2000s, that I disagreed with that we were doing with children in hospital because of my naturopathic background. So I enrolled on a course for 3 years to become a nutritional therapist, and for 2 years to become a craniosacral therapist, and to combine all of those skills. I love my medical background. It gave people the reassurance, and it still absolutely does. But I wanted to practice differently. I wanted to help babies in a different way. And at this point, I had no idea that I was going to be mainly focusing on sleep. In fact, when we put my business together 16 years ago, when I was pregnant with Oliver, my website was nutrition, weaning, feeding, super nanny type consultations, nutrition for pregnancy. So just literally all different areas. But whenever I spoke to parents, when I used to take classes at children's centres or for a company called Baby Steps, or when I was principal nutritional therapist in the National Nutrition Clinic, I would tell parents my background and they'd say, "Can I pick your brains about sleep?" And so that's how I originally got into sleep. It wasn't through thinking, oh, this is something I can do. It was just because parents were desperate for help and there wasn't anybody out there at the time that was doing sleep. It just wasn't a thing like it is now. And so I'd say, oh yeah, well, I've spent my 20s traveling around the world. I was a nanny, maternity nurse, and like, oh my God. Anyway, put first aid aside, can we talk about sleep? and I soon realised that sleep really underpins everything. And actually, a lot of the things that I was doing with behaviour, with nutrition, with feeding, with weaning, with fussy eating, none of those things could be resolved if you didn't help the sleep side of things. And so I was naturally advising on sleep for the feeding or weaning or behavioural issues that parents were coming to me for. I was like, well, look, your little one's not sleeping, they're not going to bed, they're feeding 10 times a night, you're not going to get them to eat in the daytime. The food refusal is because they're using the milk to go to sleep. And so therefore I started advising on sleep, and I soon became a sleep expert more than anything else without kind of trying to, if that makes sense.
Wow, what a journey that you've been on. And I love how your business has come about from, obviously you've got all of the kind of academic knowledge and all the training that you've done, but it really sounds like it's come through from experience, from working with those babies when you were a very young nanny yourself. And how interesting that that all formed before you even had children yourself as well. So when you had children, were you like, whoa, this feels totally different, or did you feel very relaxed because you'd had so much experience with babies?
That is strange that you asked that question. In fact, right in the beginning, at the front of my book, the first page is from one mummy to another, and it's literally explaining how I felt when I became a mum that first time with Oliver. And there were so many things that weren't new to me. I mean, I'd looked after on my own newborn babies, newborn twins. Like the parents had gone away, and I'd been in sole charge of a baby and a toddler on my own from really, really early on in my career, because parents trusted me, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And so there was so many things I'd done, juggling households, cooking, washing, weaning, all of those things. But oh my God, that first day and first week, bringing your own baby back from hospital, I was a mess, like any other mum would have been. The only thing that was really new to me was breastfeeding. That really was the only thing that was new to me. And it made me think, bloody hell, these mums that actually don't have any of this experience and don't have any of this knowledge, how on earth would they feel? Like I couldn't comprehend how different it was being my baby, and with all of the emotions attached and going through labour. I had horrendous labour with Oliver, 27 hours emergency C-section. So I've been through all of that as well. But I cried because Daryl shaved off his beard on day 3. I think my exact words were, how he said, came to the top of the stairs, and he's always had a beard, and he said, Hannah, I've done something really bad. And I said, what have you done? He goes, I've shaved my beard off. And I was like, how could you do that when everything else is changing? And burst into tears and had a major meltdown. And then about 3 days later, had another meltdown because he wanted to go and mow the lawn. And I was thinking, at this time, the one thing that you need to do is mow the bloody lawn. Are you joking? And I have this in the front of my book, just to reiterate that actually, no matter what experience you have, those first week to 2 weeks are difficult for anybody. Absolutely.
Oh, they are. They absolutely are. And another thing you were doing at that time as well was setting up your business, which is, still the business that you're running today. So what was that like, trying to get a business off the ground whilst you were tackling like all those feelings of being a new parent? And also, before off camera, you were saying how you went back to work with Oliver and when he was about 6 weeks old. So tell me about that experience of juggling all of that.
So when I fell pregnant with Oliver, I was nannying. I was working for a company called Baby Steps, doing first aid training and weaning classes. I was also working for the National Nutrition Clinic, part time, half a day a week. Or maybe a day a week, I can't remember, it was so long ago, running nutritional consultations. And then I had a nanny job, which was 4 days a week for a wonderful family with 3 children. And when I fell pregnant, they didn't want me to come back, understandably, with the baby, because their ones are older, changed dynamics. So when I was 8 months pregnant, I left that position. And then we were like, right, let's put this together as a business. My husband, who's now also my business partner, is very good at the kind of business side of things, which I'm not. I've never worked in an office. I didn't even properly know how to use emails at the time, but he made me a leaflet. He built me a website. And as I said, at the time, it was focusing on all different areas: weaning, nutritional consultations, feeding clinics, super nanny work. Sleep wasn't really even a kind of factor. I don't even know whether it was on the website at the time. But I was lucky in the fact that I knew that I was going to go back to, nannying with Oliver. And I knew that being an experienced nanny like I was, that I probably wouldn't find it difficult to find a position at the time. There was quite the nanny agencies that I'd worked for a long time were really quite confident that they could find me a position that Oliver could come along to. So when he was 3.5 weeks old, we started going to job interviews together, and I got the first position that I went for. And Oliver started coming to work with me when he was about 5.5 weeks old, and we had a wonderful family that we worked with until he was 4. They moved away when he was 4, and they had a little girl who was 18 months when I started with Oliver, and then they had a little boy that came along that was 6 months younger than Oliver. So like the 3 of them were brought up like siblings. And in fact, on my days off, it was 4 days a week, and on the 3 days a week off, Oliver would ask every morning, can we go and see Anna and Luke? He loved it so much.
That is so lovely.
I was really lucky that actually at the time my business, it didn't need to bring in the money. I didn't have the pressure at the time, at that point in time, because I had my nanny position. It was busy juggling all of them, but I got them into a pretty good routine so that they would all go down for their nap at the same time. When Anna started school, I just had the 2 babies. I would have time in the middle of the day, and I'd sort their food out, but then I'd be able to work a little bit on my business at the house. The parents were really understanding that I was doing this alongside, and then I would work in the evenings. And by the time they moved away, when Oliver was 3.5, and me and my husband were getting married that month, they moved away. We were like, can we survive without it? We're like, well, let's give it the next 4 months. We're not going to get a job immediately. And in those 4 months, I then really focused. I had all the groundwork at that point. I'd realised by that point that most people wanted me for sleep. So we focused on sleep. And in fact, that was quite a big moment, because we had this website, as I said, which focused on all different things. And the business training that I've done now always says, have your niche. And so then Daryl built me a new website, which only focused on sleep. And I got no inquiries for about a month, nothing, like literally nothing. And I sent the website out to some of the mums that have used me in the past and said, look, I've got this new website. It's amazing. It focuses on what people are wanting me for. I was getting like 98% of inquiries were for sleep, and it had 5 tabs, and only one of them was for sleep on my old website. They said, yeah, Hannah, it's because when I came to you, I could see that you did everything. You were kind of like somebody that could help me in all areas of parenting, but obviously sleep was an element. And so that's why now on all of my marketing, I'm not just a sleep specialist, I'm a parenting expert as well, so that that's the difference. And I think parents quite like that reassurance that I've got the whole picture, and it's not just sleep that I've trained in.
That's really interesting, isn't it, that you sort of picked up on that. And it's so important as a business owner to be really tuned in to what your clients and your potential clients want. And it's great that you had like a pool of people that you could approach and say, look, why aren't people actually making inquiries now? I've got this new website. So that information is like gold dust, isn't it, when you're a new business, because otherwise you're just kind of flapping around in the dark.
Absolutely. And there have been so many times. And I think one of the biggest things as a business owner, especially when you're working on your own, and up until last December, it was just me. It always has been. Dowell joined me in December last
Yeah.
year. Um, but, and so everything's fallen on me, and you don't have any feedback from other people. You don't have like kind of that what should we do next, what's working, what isn't working. Everything, it lands on you as a single business owner.
Yeah.
And my community has been amazing at that. Even when I was working one-to-one, I would literally, if I was on a stumbling block, I was wondering about something, I would just put it out there, and I just say, look, I'm wondering about this, you're the people that have used me in the past, what would work? And taking feedback, taking criticism, asking for feedback, knowing when things going wrong and learning for it, rather than, we had that
Yeah.
recently actually with the launch that we did. All of those things, and kind of moving forward and being able to be adaptable, I think is so important as a business owner.
100%. And it can be challenging for people when they learn how to do something one way and it's been working, and then all of a sudden it's not working, and it's like the rug has been pulled from beneath you. But it is just a normal part of business, because things change, market conditions change, like what's going on in the world affects everything, how people show up, how they buy, how they behave, and we've kind of got to be really tuned into that as a business owner. So I'm really interested in you making the leap from working one-to-one with people to then moving your business online. Like, how did that transition feel, and like when and how did you make that decision?
So from when I put my business together, obviously, when I was pregnant with Oliver, and then it kind of emerged that my main focus was sleep. So by the time Ella came along, she's now 12, I was only working really doing sleep. I very rarely do anything else. And then I worked one-to-one for all of those years with families. I had 24 hours, 7-day a week support, 365 days a year. I had calls on Christmas Day, every single family holiday that I had in that time. I took calls. I worked every single day, so they would have a 2-hour window in the morning, and I would take texts outside of that. When I had my babies, my Daryl caught me answering a message from a mum on the way down to theatre for C-section, and on the way home from hospital the next day. I remember
Anna.
vividly with Ella, taking on a family when Ella was 2 days old, full-time, 24/7 support, 6-week program. And towards the end of the program, when Ella was
Wow.
about 4 weeks old, they heard Ella crying in the background. And at the time, it's very different now, and I'll talk about that when I pivoted my business. But at the time, working with a baby wasn't normal. It wasn't the norm. It is more so now, and you can get away with it now. So I would make sure that the families didn't know that I had the babies around in the background, but I didn't have any childcare when they were growing up. I looked after them all myself.
Right.
But they heard the
Yeah.
baby and said, "Oh, have you got a baby there?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, that's my daughter, my second baby." And she goes, "How old is that baby?" And I was like, 4 weeks. And she was like, "You are kidding me. I've been calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you've got a newborn baby." I was like, and they realised at that point. So I worked with that, but it got exhausting. I couldn't take on any more families.
Yeah,
I was
sounds
taking on
it.
3 or 4 families a week. That was the most that I could help. More and more families needed me. I had a waiting list, and this was pre-pandemic. And then in 2020, obviously, everything changed for everyone. But it was the biggest pivot in my business, because I went from lots of families needing me, but I was probably one of the most expensive sleep specialists at that point because of my experience, my qualifications. I worked with a lot of families with complex medical issues as a result, like reflux, cow's milk protein allergy, and even more complex medical issues because of my background in nursing and nutrition. And so I
Yeah.
charged more than most, because the parents that came to me needed me more, and I couldn't take on any more families. And then the pandemic hit and everybody needed me. It just went after 2 weeks of going quiet in the May, it just went absolutely mental. I can't even, it literally, inquiries here, messages, texts, emails. I didn't even have a social media platform. I had my Facebook page, and that was it. I didn't have any
Yeah.
community. I didn't have Instagram. I didn't have anything. And I was like, what can I do? I started putting on talks to groups like that. I just put out there, I'm going to do a talk on Facebook, and people were coming to it, asking me questions. I just couldn't keep up because I didn't have a business model that could support that kind of influx of people. And parents needed me. There wasn't any baby groups. There wasn't any support network. The NHS was pulled back on the front line. There wasn't all of those normal things that parents would have access to. It just wasn't the case. And so in October 2020, I did a course with Lisa Johnson called One to Many. And it was an online.
We know it well.
In fact, I remember vividly doing her free challenge in the October, and Darryl and me listening to the free challenge, and Darryl came into the room. He goes, "What the hell are you listening to?" I like sat there. I was like, "No, she really makes sense. I'd never ever listened to anything like that before." And then on the Monday, when she did her masterclass in the evening, where she sold the course, we'd had to have our dog Molly, who we'd had for 12 years, put down that morning. All of us were having a sleepover in the room. The kids were there. I had it on a headphone. I said, "Darryl, I'm doing this. I'm doing it, and I'm booking it." He goes, "Well, you better stick to it." And that was in the October. And then we went back into the lockdown, and I was up at 3 or 4 o'clock every morning, homeschooling the 3 kids, running this business that had gone mental. Darryl at the time was working for Xbox. So we were in the 2 industries that went absolutely ridiculously busy through lockdown, 3 kids. And then I was doing this course, and I booked it. I started it in the end of October. By the beginning of December, I'd opened up my community on Facebook. Lisa says in the course, don't do anything for 6 months, get the course finished. You need to build up your community. You need to nurture your audience, all of these things. I ignored everything. I opened up the community in December. I launched my first sleep course in the January. The course hadn't even finished yet. It didn't finish till the March. And I made back the money twice over in that January sleep club, which I now run 3 times a year. And that's, literally, I think it was the right time, right place. People needed me. There wasn't really anybody doing that as such. I mean, there was online sleep courses. There were online, like the sleep industry was getting bigger, but there wasn't anybody that offered the reassurance and all of the parenting stuff alongside it and had the history of experience that I had. And it just worked. And now I probably take on 3 families a year, one-to-one. And they're mainly people that have used me in the past, one-to-one, and have come back and said, "Oh, I've got another baby. Can you do it again?" But it's very rare that I do one-to-one sessions now.
Wow, it's just amazing. It's such an inspiring story to hear. And 2 things really stood out for me. One of them was the way that you've been talking about your business all the way through. It's sort of like, so when the kids were napping, and I'm talking about like when you were nannying and you had your own kids. So when the kids were napping or in the evenings, you were working on your business. And then, even when your kids were very tiny babies and you were back nannying, you were still trying to build up this business and get it off the ground. And I just kind of, what was it that drove you to have that level of motivation? Because I know that's a stumbling block for a lot of birth and baby business owners, is they have this really strong desire to get out there and support families and make a difference, but then having their own families and their own children can often derail their plans, if you like, because it becomes so difficult to manage it all. But you did manage it. So I'm just wondering, is there what was it? Was it support from Darryl? Was it like your drive, your motivation? Like, tell us what the secret sauce was.
I think that generally my personality is don't sit still. I really don't sit still. I've always got something on the go. In fact, Darryl sometimes like, "What the hell are you arranging now?" I arrange a festival for 70 friends every year, and I'm always the one that arranges the friends get together, and always arranging that if there's a hen do or a birthday coming up, it's like, "Hannah, can you help me do this?" Yeah, of course I can. So I always say if I was going to have a different career, then it would be a party or events organizer. And I love being busy. I don't do well at relaxing and sitting still. But also I am very passionate about helping families, and it's something that I found that was what I was really good at. I think at school, I didn't do very well at school. I think I almost certainly got undiagnosed ADHD, which is why I like having 20 balls in the air. But I didn't do well at school, and I was always told that I was rubbish. I wasn't allowed to, ironically, now that I'm a #1 best-selling author, I was told that I couldn't do English literature at school because I wasn't good enough at English, and yeah, so and then when I started nannying and juggling a household and being able to have the babies happy, have the parents happy. And when I was a nanny, I think the reason why I got passed around so much is because I would like, they'd come in like, Hannah, there's that. And I'd like have all of their dinner on the table when they came in. I would have his flights booked for the thingy. I was organising this. I'd then sort out the cupboards and like having all of those things and being busy. And then when I had my own children, because I had all of that experience, actually juggling the business and looking after the babies kind of came naturally because I'd had all of that practice doing it beforehand. And I enjoy it. I enjoy being busy. I enjoy doing things and getting stuff done. So I don't think I've ever seen it. Okay, occasionally I've seen it as a bit of a chore, but most of the time I relish in it. It's something that I really enjoy doing. And I think when it's something that you're passionate about, something you enjoy doing, and something that you can see is doing good, those three things give you the motivation to keep going, even if there are times when you think, I can't be asked for this today.
Relatable. Yeah, no, definitely.
Amazing.
Hannah's back after a bit of internet issues.
I'd love to know, and if I've missed this question already, then please do say. But I'd love to know, sort of, when you do have blocks, when you do have doubts, when you think, oh, can I do this? Can't I? That sort of that critical, thinking comes in. How do you deal with that? Do you have like rituals or kind of mindset things that you do, or do you just what do you share your secret
apart
with
from
us?
reaching for a glass of wine? My other thing is to really remind myself of all of the positive things. I had one of these moments actually recently when we were doing every 3 months I do a free workshop for parents, and had between 2,000 and 5,000 families join this free workshop where they learn from me. I do presentations. I talk to them about lots and lots of different things, and the feedback is amazing. There are so many families in my community that have gone from this free workshop to baby sleeping completely independently and being in the most awful position before without anything else. In fact, we looked up the statistics, and it's only 2.4% of people that come to the workshop actually buy a program from me, and the rest of them, the feedback's amazing. And on day 2 of the workshop, I had a 1-star, my first ever non-5-star review, which was a 1-star review on Trustpilot. And it really knocked me. We'd put so much effort into this. And especially now there's me and Daryl working on it. It's literally our lives for the 2 weeks leading up to it. There's so much time put in. We'd been away on a family wedding and been working 4 or 5 hours a day to prepare this workshop, and I was feeling really crappy about it, when you're just like, I just can't be asked for this anymore, what's the point? And so actually I reached out to my community and I said, look, I always say to people, if you're feeling bad, you're feeling down, things aren't working for you, reach out, talk about it. And so I'm going to take my own advice here. I'm just reaching out. I feel really crap about this at the moment. And in my private Facebook community of parents, I've got 12,000 parents in this private community, and it's a lovely, really supportive place. I'm in so many parenting communities, and the reason why I didn't set one up for years was because some of them are just awful, like they're the least supportive places, and they're all like battling against each other. But this is lovely. In fact, I've only had 2 times in the last 4 years that I've had to step in and say, no, this isn't right, you've got to leave. That's how lovely it is. And I had on there about 87 messages messages from parents that I've helped saying how amazing I am, keep on going, you transformed our lives, you don't know how much you've helped us. And so that was, so now if I
That's
do have one of
enough.
those days, I go and read testimonials, I read the comments, I read the feedback that I've got from other people, and just think, this is one person and they're probably just having a really shitty day and they just need someone to take it out on. So
that's such a good point. Such a good point. It's often we forget to do that, don't we? But it is so important to remember the impact that you've had. And even if it's only on like one or two parents, if you're very at the beginning of your business and your journey, working with families and parents, then you've still made a huge difference. It's so important to appreciate that. Now, you mentioned working with a coach before. Do you feel that working with a coach or a mentor is something that was important to your business and really helped?
I don't think that I could have pivoted my business to working online without the help that I got with the course, and also the support. I think Lisa's great. I even went out to New York on one of
Me
her
too.
retreats, which is something that I never ever thought that
Wow.
I would do anything like that ever. In fact, I felt
Yeah.
like a complete like fish out of water when I went there, but loved every minute of it, and actually came back with really good ideas. That's why I set up my membership, which have now got 120 people in. So there's been certain things that I wouldn't have been able to do. There's no way that I would have got to the point that I am now without taking some kind of business advice, mentoring, whatever you want to call it. So I do think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think that you need to be really careful about who you go through the mentoring with, because there are some really,
Definitely.
really bad people out there that can that cause issues with that I've heard horrendous stories from. But getting the right person, I wouldn't. I'm not in a position now where I'd be. She's costs far too much for me to be investing in one of her big memberships or anything. But no, definitely, I think that what we did originally, when I did the training, having somebody to bounce ideas off of, a community, of friendly business owners, wherever you feel that you fit into that, is definitely something that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know, we know Lisa as well and have worked with her as well and have had great experiences with her. And it's absolutely right that you need to choose the right mentor, the right coach, the right program, because there are some sharks out there for sure. So as we come towards the end of the podcast, I would love to know, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to a birth or baby business owner just starting out who wants to create an impactful and sustainable business?
So I would say that the biggest thing is to be adaptable. Try what you're doing, be relaxed about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. It's so easy to be. And I think this is one of the reasons why my business has worked so well, is because I'm not a perfectionist. I think that occasionally, if you're too much of a perfectionist, then you put too much pressure on yourself and you think everything has to be just perfect, and it doesn't. To kind of take that leap and just do it, because if you don't do stuff, then you're never going to work out whether or not it works for you or not. You can spend weeks trying to get your website to perfection, to get your course looking absolutely amazing, to get those leaflets being just right, but they're useless if nobody knows about them. So you may as well just get your idea, do what you can to get it set up, and then just get out there. And all of that perfection can come from adapting it as you go along. So it's just to do it, basically.
That is such a good piece of advice, because I think that is huge. The huge thing that holds people back is this procrastination over, is this perfect? Is that perfect? Even right down to like posting their first post on social media. And that piece of advice of just like, just do it, like just get out there and do it, because people are afraid of failing, but if you don't do it, you've failed already, haven't you? Because you haven't set out to achieve what you wanted to achieve. So just, if you're listening to this and you're like scared of putting yourself out there, take Hannah's advice and just do it. It's the only way to get going. Well, Hannah, it's been so lovely to have you on the podcast. I'm so sorry about all the technical issues that we had before we even pressed record, and that we've dealt with it like a pro throughout the whole podcast
Well, I, for
episode
one,
here.
can't wait to listen to this podcast back because I've missed the whole thing.
Oh,
I'm looking forward to listening to this episode. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, do you want to wrap it up for us then, Anna, and tell everyone?
I will try. And so yeah, thanks for being with us, Hannah, for bearing with us. It's been great to have you on. I've really enjoyed meeting you, and I'm looking forward to following more about what you achieve in business, because I have a feeling there's a lot more to come from you. So I think that's very exciting. And if you have listened to this episode and you've enjoyed it, then please leave us a review, come and subscribe to our YouTube channel, or come and have a chat with us on Instagram and let us know what you thought. We will share all of Hannah's details on how you can find her, work with her, below in the notes. Hannah, do you want to just let people know how they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's my business name is Sleep Well with Hannah. So the easiest is sleepwellwithhannah.com is my website, which has links to all of my socials. Or you can find my Calm Approach to Baby Sleep, which is my book, which is on Amazon.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hannah. And thank you everyone
so
for
much
watching.
for having
And
me.
we'll
It's
be
been
back
lovely
soon.
speaking to you both.
And you.
Till next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.